Welcome, everybody, to Wasted Pitch.
Whoa.
Sorry.
I like it. That's a way to start an episode.
Yes. I'm feeling feisty. I don't even know how many cups of coffee I had this morning.
Wow. Not enough, or maybe too many?
Well,
just the right amount?
Not according to my ass. Just a heads up.
I don't even know. What does that mean? Go on.
No. Let's move on. Let's talk some baseball.
Okay. Let's talk some baseball. We had a fight last night. There was a fight.
Yeah, a pretty funny fight. That was really funny, actually.
It was kind of funny. The slow-mo version, who was it? It was Jose Ramirez and Tim Anderson. Mm-hmm. Tim Anderson got knocked out, sort of. He got knocked down pretty hard.
With this.
Yeah,
not this. This.
The inside of his fist rather than the outside of his fist.
Yeah.
The slow-mo version looks worse than the actual, regular speed version of it. The slow-mo version, it looks like he got hit pretty hard. But the regular speed, I didn't even know. I thought the thing was fake. I thought it was a fake fight, especially the way that it started, because they put their dukes up like they were
like
old time, in the 1920s. Yeah,
it's like a hockey fight. They pushed away the referee, and it's like, let's go. The umpire.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But Tim Anderson's not in the lineup today.
Yeah, but it was a scheduled day off, Eric. Come on.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, he's clearly got a soft chin.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I wish that they would allow more fights in baseball. I've always thought this. Why not treat it like hockey? Let the guys fight. If they're gonna fight anyway, right? It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna start a brawl, and benches are going to clear. So just let them fight. Let's circle around like we're on the playground.
Yes.
Let's duke it out. Let the two players who are going at it. Maybe it's a coach and an umpire. Ooh, that's a good idea. Actually, I didn't think about that. A coach and an umpire can duke it out.
That would be awesome.
But it happens all the time. This fight was okay. It was one of the better ones. It's not as good as Jose Bautista getting knocked out by Rougned Odor. That was the best one.
He took that punch way better than Tim Anderson took that punch. He stayed on his feet. He was wobbled, but oh my God. Tim Anderson got slapped and he fucking got knocked out. Little bitch.
Yeah, it was pretty weak.
What was funny is it's all the posts afterward about there was the people that breaking down the fight. First of all, Tim Anderson, you're not a southpaw. Why are you standing southpaw? That was pretty good. But then it was just the most underrated versus the most overrated. There was a lot of good social media posts after that.
The only one that I saw was the guy from, I think it was John Boy breaking it down.
Yeah,
the southpaw. That was good. Apparently, Tim Anderson has had some issues with other players in the past. Jose Ramirez was talking about he's been disrespecting the game for a long time now. I don't know what that means. Didn't really go into detail. But maybe that had something to do with it. Because it didn't look like it was that bad of a play before that caused the fight. He just kind of slid into him a little bit hard. But
yeah.
I was just going to say, what caused it? I didn't even see what caused it. I just saw the aftermath.
Ramirez said that he maybe tagged him a little bit hard, and so that pissed him off. But there had to have been something prior to that.
Absolutely.
You don't get tagged hard and then just automatically start trying to fight someone. Put your dukes up, asshole. That's not the way it works. So there must be some history between those two, or history with Tim Anderson. I know he was fucking with the Royals a few years ago. I remember him and Salvador Perez almost got into a fight. But
what?
Yeah, he was it was the year after the Royals won the World Series, I think. And Tim Anderson hit a home run, and he was celebrating he just hit a grand slam in Game 7 of the World Series. And Salvi didn't take to that too kindly and started talking shit to him.
Salvi is always smiling, and he's one of the happiest baseball players out there. Probably loves everybody. Everybody gets along with him.
Yeah, apparently, for the most part. But when I guess it's one of those things when you come out there and you're acting
a fool.
Yeah, Salvi's he's gonna stick up for his team. And at that time, they he took it as a disrespect. Like Tim Anderson was like, "What's up? We're the White Sox. You guys aren't shit."
Well, just went to the last 2 World Series. That's all.
That's what pissed him off. But that was years ago.
Yeah.
So Terry Francona said he wasn't sure what prompted the fight, but that Anderson was told by one of the umpires to stop jawing at Guardians rookie Gabriel Arias.
Also, Ramirez was just sticking up for his teammates.
Yeah.
Again,
That's it.
let him fight.
Let him
Let him
fight.
fucking fight.
They did, man. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
There haven't been that many fights this year or confrontations. It seems to be lower.
I could recall a really good one last year between the Mariners and the Angels.
Yeah, you guys fucking hate each other.
Yes, that turned our season around. Literally, we won like 13 games after that.
Yeah.
It was the moment. Unfortunately, who was it? Jesse Winker. We traded him away.
Is that who was at the center of it?
Yeah, and he fucking charged the bench. He charged the whole team. He was like, "Let's go!" It was awesome.
Well, it's because they'll do that because they know that their team's going to come out there and help
hold them
them
back and-
eventually.
Eventually, yeah, that's good
Did
stuff.
Shohei fight? Was Shohei in on that?
God,
Was
no.
he?
He ran into the dugout, ran into the locker room. I don't even know, actually.
Yeah, you just made that up.
I did.
We make things up here on Wasted Pitch,
I don't
by the
see
way.
Shohei as being a fighter. I don't. You know. Did you ever notice how it's almost like every swing, every at bat, he takes off his helmet and kind of like redoes his hair, puts his helmet back on. It's just like, dude, what are you
He's the
doing?
face of baseball, man. He's got to look.
man.
He's got
always
to
gotta
look good for
It's
every
fucking
pitch.
Hilarious. Yeah, we're about to sweep them. Just a heads up. Knock on wood.
Well, good for you.
Yeah,
What are the Mariners' chances of making the playoffs at this point?
47%.
No way. There's
Come
no
on.
way.
I'm kidding. I don't know.
I think I'm going to look that up because I just saw something.
Because, they're now only 2.5 from that wild card. Making some moves, bros.
Bros. Okay, so Mariners' chances, according to Buster Olney, Mariners' chances are at 25.9%.
I mean, that is not bad.
Red Sox chances are at 15.6.
Yeah.
Suck it, Red Sox.
Sounds about right.
I think you guys are having like a little 3-game losing streak or something like that, aren't you?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
losing in the most stupid ways.
Oh, yeah, you guys
that
have
was
lost some damn
hilarious.
games.
Yes, last night. That was so good.
Royals chances are at... Royals are the hottest team in baseball right now, fellas. I don't know if you know that. Their chances are at 0.0%. So
I mean,
we're killing it.
seems to fit with being the hottest team in baseball, I guess. 7-3 in your last 10 games. You doing some damage?
Yeah, it's
you
done.
broke
We
the
had the
35
little
win
winning
mark?
streak. They lost last night, and now it's over.
Done.
Bye-bye.
Season's over with now.
They're playing in Philly right now, and Philly actually, Philly's known for like booing their players for anything,
Right.
Of course.
right? They'll boo anybody. They booed Santa Claus or some shit like that.
Exactly.
They actually got up and cheered for Trey Turner before his at bat. They gave him a standing ovation to pump him up, because he's been awful.
He's been awful lately,
since the WBC. He hasn't done shit.
which is the whole season.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting paid all this money. So apparently they stood up and cheered for him.
Did it work?
He hit like a 3-run home run last night. So apparently it did something.
Well, good.
Maybe he just needs a little positive.
Apparently he's been
Positive affirmations,
sucking on the defense too. It's like I think that was the easy part for him was the defense, but he's feeling the pressure out there.
He's a little bit. It's Philly. Philly's a tough place. It's not L.A.
I'm so glad
it's
the
not no
Mariners didn't
soft.
sign him. Mariners thought about it, but no, he's not old enough.
Yeah, give him a few more years. He'll be on the Mariners, and they'll sign Shohei when Shohei's 43. It's his farewell season.
He's gonna probably have a sweet knuckleball that he barely even has to throw by that point. I feel like he's gonna age well.
He might. Let's talk some trades. Some trade deadline. Last week
wrong.
we were 2 days prior to the trade deadline. This week we're a few days removed from the trade deadline. And we have ourselves a good old-fashioned Texas pissing contest, fellas.
I tell you what.
I tell you what.
Boy, howdy.
How do you feel about that, Eric? being in Texas.
I mean, I'm
How does it feel,
300
Eric?
miles from either team.
You're right in the middle of that pissing contest. So Scherzer was picked up by Texas prior to Astros, the Space City Astros, picking up Justin Verlander. Basically, the Mets are just kind of
Done.
dispersing all of their players.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit at this point. So it's kind of a 2-horse race in that division. Maybe it always was, but look at Paul, his fucking face. You know it is. Don't even act like it. Like there's
man.
a chance. I'll eat my words if it comes to fruition.
You're going to eat a big bowl of shit. Also, come on.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Now I lost my train of thought. I can't even.
Exactly.
Now I'm thinking about eating a bowl of shit. Thank you for that.
Yes. I don't know if it's just a 2-horse race, man. I mean, come on. Told you all it takes is like a week of winning and you're in it. We're only like 2.5, 3.5 from behind Houston right now. And the East is kind of falling apart, minus Baltimore and who? Toronto? No?
Yeah.
Toronto, yeah. So,
yeah, Yankees are falling apart. Oh, speaking of the Yankees, let's sidebar real quick. Anthony Rizzo.
yeah.
Did you guys see that?
He went to the IL.
Yeah.
What
Did you
happened?
see why he went to the IL?
No.
Because of a concussion, but not because of a concussion that he received recently. Because of a concussion that he received back in May.
Oh, I did hear about this. Yeah, and he's been
been like all
confused.
fucked up. Yeah. He'll
Like,
wake up in the morning and he says that he feels hungover and like has all of these different things that are like that have been happening.
Hasn't been able to keep track of outs, how many outs are in the inning.
Yeah.
But he's still just totally been playing. And
He's totally been playing. And now finally, August, they're like, oh yeah, you might have a concussion. We should probably put you on the injured reserve list.
wow.
And it was from something like he got hit in the head while he was playing first base. A runner was coming back to first base.
Mm-hmm.
Their leg hit him in the head, and you could tell from when it happened, he was like kind of like hobbling around like he's a zombie or some
Like
shit.
Tim Anderson got slapped.
Yeah, a little bit, kind of like that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, sorry for the sidebar there, but that made me think of Rizzo. So the Yankees are basically
Yep, they got
shitting
Herman
themselves.
on the IL as well, out for the season for alcohol treatment.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The whole season, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, from the sound of his outbursts,
Tirade
Yeah.
in the clubhouse. Yeah,
It's
he
not
knocked over
surprising.
sofas and TVs, and
How do you knock over a sofa? That's angry.
yeah, well,
Depends on the size of the sofa. I mean, maybe it's a little, IKEA 2-seater.
I mean,
Didn't
these
he
are
just have a
athletes.
no-hitter recently?
He had a no-hit, perfect game.
Yeah.
Not
that's
just
right.
a no-hitter, it was a perfect game.
That was just like a month ago or some
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, I can't wait for the documentary to come out on that one.
Yeah, that's a 30 for 30. right there.
100%, he was drunk for that.
Very possibly. Be like,
It's the new Doc Ellis. Like,
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Nice.
yeah, what were we talking about? We were talking about the Astros and Rangers. Scherzer, Verlander. It'll be interesting to watch as we close out the season. Go Rangers. Not a Rangers fan, but we're all Rangers fans at this point.
When it comes to them versus Houston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I won't put you in too much of a hole there, Paul. You don't have to say that you're a Rangers fan for the rest of the season.
Never.
What else did we have? We had a lot of stuff come through at the last minute. I think the Verlander trade was the biggest one
Definitely.
that came out. I was hoping for something else to come through, just because I didn't want the Astros to steal the spotlight again. But they did again. Dodgers tried to pick up a pitcher, but they didn't. But it didn't go through.
Yeah,
Eduardo Rodriguez. They tried to get him from Detroit,
Yeah.
but he invoked his 10-team no trade clause, which includes the Dodgers.
It's kind of weird that he said no.
It sounds like he didn't want to move his family.
That's what I read.
Yeah, you move him just for 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
You're happy in Detroit. Good for you. You're making money. You're playing baseball.
Nope.
No need to move the family to LA. So I can appreciate that. I think they had been trying to get him for a while. It sounds like since last year they had been trying to get him. So they tried again, but to no avail. So they probably will not try a third time for Eduardo Rodriguez.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Enough money
Yep.
might seal the deal. I thought the Dodgers were going to go after Verlander, honestly.
I would imagine that they probably did, but if Verlander had a choice between Houston and LA, he's probably choosing Houston just because of his familiarity with the team.
Right.
What else?
Most of the other trades were like nothing really big. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously a couple more Mets, Tommy Pham and that Michael Kaha. How do you pronounce his last name?
I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about.
Khan.
I want you to continue because I want to hear the end of this one.
Khan.
You're crushing it.
Okay. I can't remember his name. The Mariners traded their closer, but still, look what we're doing. I know that was a weird trade, but we got two guys on our roster. They're playing.
Who was it? He went to Arizona, right?
Yeah. And Josh Rojas and Dominic Canzone, and they're playing like almost every day right now too. So it's kind of cool. It was a little sad, but
Did you guys DFA anybody, or did you guys get rid of AJ Pollock yet?
AJ Pollock went to San Francisco.
Okay.
And I can't remember who we got in return, but yeah, the best DFA possible, Colton motherfucking Wong, is gone. And the Red Sox were actually really interested in picking him up there for a second, which is pretty funny. Yeah, but then they were like, oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
He's trash. He's batting 112.
Oh, my God. That
no,
bad?
Thank you. Well, like 150.
Okay.
It's still really bad. And his defense is even way down. And that's kind of all he had most of those years.
112 would be epically bad. Who was the guy that played for Baltimore that was like an absolute monster and then just all of a sudden couldn't hit? He was
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris something.
Not Chris Anderson. Chris Davis. Chris Davis.
Chris Davis, yes.
There were two Chris Davises in the league that were both bombers.
Yeah, they signed him to like $150 million or whatever dollar contract. And
then he just absolutely could not hit.
No, but they kept him for like 6 or 7 years. Like,
yeah,
it's hilarious.
Sorry for the tangent. It reminded me of Chris Davis because he was batting like 120 or something like that.
Holy cow!
It was brutal. Yeah. I think he had the yips.
His averages in 2020 was 115.
Oh my god,
that was the lowest it ever was. But yeah, going back, like his highest is 285 in 2008. It was just a slow decline and then a sudden cliff.
Yep,
had to be the yips. Had to have been.
Oh yeah, that's what they kept saying, for sure. I think another big thing about that trade deadline was the lack of moving Mr. Shohei Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I understand them kind of deciding, let's go all in, let's try to keep him here. So if we potentially win, we could try to woo him for staying another year or 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever. But they could have replenished their entire farm system and got major league available players as well. Also, really quick, did you know you can't trade draft picks in baseball?
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't know that.
I just learned that.
Who was it the other day that was talking to? It was a proposed trade.
Alex Rodriguez.
No, it was Colin Cowherd. He was talking about how the Angels should trade Shohei and get all these draft picks and all this kind of stuff.
No, that was Alex Rodriguez did that. Yeah, and then he got a whole lot of grief. Yeah, it's like, dude, you can't trade draft picks in baseball. Because that's what I learned.
Of course it was A-Rod.
Yeah.
Fucking moron. Yeah, that was definitely... I mean, who knows? Like at the end of the day, like we're never going to know exactly why they decided not to trade him. It could be for stupid reasons. Could
all
be
they're gonna
just
get
for
is
money. It could
Butts
be
and seats.
Yeah. All they're going to get now is they're going to put a qualifying offer out there for him. So whoever does sign him, they're going to have to give him a draft pick. That's all they're getting for him.
What is the benefit of not trading him at the deadline? Like, do you gain anything by doing so other than revenue from him still being on your team? Like, if you trade him now or wait till the end of the season and he doesn't re-sign with you, like what are the benefits?
Once the season's over for them, he's no longer an Angel.
No, I realize that, but
Well, I mean, you're saying other than revenue. I mean, I think it's all revenue. The shirts he sells, the butts and seats. Trout's injured. Like they got no one else.
Yeah.
To draw people to the ballpark, to sell t-shirts and jerseys and all that. I mean, that's a huge source.
But I mean,
of
that's
revenue
it.
for 'em.
It's just they want money more than they want like a decent farm system and like some good players.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
it's
what I
like-
mean. It's like why
You need money for those.
why
things.
risk that? Well, yeah.
But I don't think they're really in danger of not making a lot of money. I mean, Southern California teams make pretty decent money, be it your team's good or bad.
We live in a capitalistic society, Paul.
You're correct, Eric.
Free market, baby.
More money.
Yeah,
More money.
money talks.
Yeah, I don't know. We talk about Shohei probably once a week at this point.
Because he's rad.
He is rad and he's awesome and he's the best player in baseball. But I guess it's also kind of sad, man. It's fucking sad.
Oh, it is. It is. Like the other night, Mariners, he hit a home run like in the 8th inning to tie it up or put the Angels up by like 1 or 2 runs, and it was they were losing their minds there at Angel Stadium, and it was great for them. A guy from the Mariners came up and hit a grand slam in the 9th inning. Shohei almost started crying in the dugout, like literally fighting back tears. Like the dude cares about baseball and cares about winning, and he's just not getting that experience of the glory.
He's carrying the entire team.
Yeah. Sucks.
And he's just one man.
He is just one man.
Well,
Just
maybe
one
2.
man. Well, yeah, that's true.
Technically, I mean, he plays multiple positions, so you could call him 2 people.
He's about to get paid like 2 people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Show enough.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
That was good.
Oh, I
Eric.
didn't even mean it that way.
That's a new, like, you should have T-shirts made with just Shohei's face.
That
Show
has to
enough.
be
That's the
already.
new Bono's baseball.
Nice. I like it. Or we could do show nose wasted pitch. Oh.
We could have a segment called Show Notes, and it's just all about Shohei Ohtani.
Man, I'm down with that.
Yeah, that's about it for trade deadline stuff. We're through it. Now we can just focus on the baseball aspect of it. Lots of storylines to watch. Lots of teams still in it. Lots of teams out of it. But it should be a good end to, or a good last quarter of the 2023 baseball season.
Yeah.
And then we're in the playoffs, boys.
These
Playoffs.
playoffs are going to be heated.
Yes. It's just up until the
I mean,
playoffs.
gonna
Like
be
there's
some stacked teams in there.
4 teams in the NL, like still within 3 games that are like competing for that last playoff spot. It's like with the American League, there's only a couple teams really. But yeah, it's going to be awesome.
It is. I would agree. Is it going to be? I think it's. I want to look at the standings real quick.
Don't forget to look at those wild card standings.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. Is
There
wild
we
card
go.
standings. So it's Rays, Astros, Blue Jays, Mariners, Yankees, Red Sox.
1 week of winning changes all of that.
There's 3 wild card teams,
Yep.
and then the top wild card plays the.
The winner of the other 2.
Yeah.
Or is it? No, is that how it goes? Or the wild card? No, the second
No,
and
I
third
think it's
card
the
play
Rays
each
will
other.
play the third, like the
Yes.
third place in the
Yes.
division standings, right?
The
Yes.
division winners, yes.
Right. And so, like, looking at it at this point, it would be the Rays playing the
Twins or
some team from the Central,
That sounds right.
and then Astros and Blue Jays would meet in their little series. and then they would play
There's a series.
the top division winner.
Yeah.
And then the winner of the Rays and Astros would play that second place.
See, this is the year for the Mariners to play the Rays or to play the Astros in the wild card and to fucking win. That alone would be a huge, huge success.
Dude, you guys
Because
would get
fuck
blasted. Come on.
Oh my God. I'm going to mute you right now. Muted.
I don't think you can do that from your end, but
Damn it.
try. Yeah. Well, good luck with that, Paul. I want to see the Rangers and the Astros play each other.
Oh, man.
Personal preference.
That would be great.
Because it would be Verlander versus Scherzer. Game 1.
Chef's kiss.
It would be good. I think that's what everybody wants to see,
Yeah.
except for Paul. What if the playoffs end up being Rangers, Astros, and Angels? Like, what if it's and the Mariners lose out on that wild card spot?
That would suck. I mean,
Is that possible? Could that happen?
It probably is, because check it out. Our last 3 series of the year is Texas, Houston, Texas. So there's a possibility. If it's down to 1 or 2 games or whatever like that, those last few series are going to, if we lose, it's going to just fuck us all up.
Yeah.
But Angels are done, dude. I mean, they're crying on the inside already. It's over with. I trust that the Red Sox or Yankees are going to turn their shit around quicker than...
I think Red Sox
are dumb.
done.
They're just dumb players or something. I don't know. It's like every week they do something dumb.
Yeah, it's like everyone's trying to make the fucking highlight reel with an amazing play, and then they goof it up.
Dude, there was one last week where the throw from, I don't know what, it was an infielder throwing it to home or an infielder throwing it to first. It was the most offline throw that I've seen. And it almost went into the fucking stands. Like, I don't know.
And then a couple innings later, he made the same play and succeeded. And he celebrated like it was the World Series win.
Yeah. Like he's a defensive back in the NFL making a tackle.
Every single play in football, the defense has to celebrate.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Like, woohoo, I made a tackle.
That's why you're on the field.
Yeah.
It's your job.
Congratulations. Okay. I think that's all I want to talk about for the trades.
Oh, okay. That's all you want to talk about. Fine.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck you guys. I don't care about you.
What do you got to say about the trades, Nick? Never mind. We heard you. Eric?
Yeah.
Nothing too exciting. There was a lot of trades, that's for sure, but nothing too exciting.
It was,
For teams like the Red Sox, you guys didn't do anything, really, besides pick up.
Which I'm glad about, because we have guys in the farm system that I don't want to see them get rid of. We have a lot of up-and-comers, and to try and do something the rest of the season would have been stupid.
That's exactly what the Mariners were thinking. I mean, there's no sense in trying to make something happen, trying to force it.
Yeah, we got a guy in AAA that has hit a homer in his last 5 games. You know, he would have been the guy that people wanted for something. So, yeah, I'm glad we stayed put.
Okay, gentlemen, listeners. Last week we ended the story about the Black Sox on a little cliffhanger. So the fix is in now, right? Mm-hmm. The Gandil Psychot faction has made a deal to receive $100,000 for throwing the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. And the series is about to begin. Listeners, real quick, if you haven't checked out our episode last week, stop what you're doing right now. Stop listening to this episode.
Stop.
Go give the old one a listen. There's a lot of information leading up to the events that we'll talk about today that you do not want to miss. So before we talk about the World Series, I want to cover a couple of things. First, let's talk about the mood of the country at the time. So it's 1919. It's almost a year removed from Armistice Day, the end of World War I. And the people, they were so excited to have something to look forward to, something to cheer for. The war is over. Let's get back to the basics. Baseball was that something. The 1919 season saw record profits for baseball clubs all over the country. Attendance was higher than it had ever been, and the general feeling was that America's pastime was back in full force. So much so that MLB decided to give the fans a chance for even more baseball by expanding the World Series to 9 games instead of 7. Something that has happened only other 3 times in the history of the sport. It happened in 1903 for some reason, and then 2 years after the 1919 World Series, it happened, both of those, in 1920 and 1921. Interestingly, though, even though they expanded, they didn't allow time for this World Series anyway, they didn't allow like travel days for the teams. So like they were going back and forth between Cincinnati and Chicago without like travel days, which is like right now it's like a 4.5 hour drive or something like that. Back then they were taking trains. So they were crushing those guys.
Yeah.
Baseball wasn't the only thing that was popular. Gambling was popular as well. One could even say that it was rampant. Not only with gamblers just simply placing bets on their favorites to win the game, but gamblers offering money to players to fix games. So there are reports of games being fixed as far back as like 1865. So it's been going on in baseball for a long time. One of the more famous instances was in 1903, when there were reports that gamblers tried to bribe Boston Americans catcher Lou Krieger into throwing games for the very first World Series.
Classic Boston.
I was going to say, Eric, it seems like Boston is always at the center of controversy in baseball, like from the get-go, man.
Look, they're one of the oldest teams. So they're going to be involved in more things.
Sure.
Boston has, or used to have, a big organized crime problem. You know, yeah, it happens.
Very good.
It never ends. Never ends with Boston. Needless to say, gambling was a problem. But the bigger problem may have been that owners, players, and some that followed baseball closely knew about it. And the only ones that kept quiet about it were the owners. So kind of think about that for a second. Like the owners know that games are being fixed, but they're not really doing anything about it, which is a little worrisome, but you know,
Just a bit.
But it probably has to do with money, most likely, which is kind of sad to think about. But here we are. That brings us to the 1919 World Series. So prior to Game 1 in Cincinnati, there were rumblings of a possible fix in favor of the Reds, right? Gamblers are kind of talking. People start to get wind of what's going on. And as I said last week, the odds began to shift. So like the White Sox were favored prior to the World Series starting. Then people started getting wind of this. The odds begin to shift. The Reds are now the favorite. A possible fix was so well known at this point that it's reported that flocks of gamblers waited outside of the hotel where the White Sox were staying and just started waving money in front of the players.
Wow.
Trying to get in on the fix. Like that's how rampant gambling was. And there were signs posted in all the stadiums that said like no gambling, like huge signs, because everybody knew that it was going on. It was almost like horse racing in a sense. So Game 1 is upon us. The city of Cincinnati is packed with fans, like both in the stands and in the streets. And I think one quote I read said that Cincinnati was sold out. There was no vacancy. Everybody's in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's popular for once. The matchup on the mound for Game 1 was White Sox ace Eddie Sykot versus left-hander Dutch Ruther for the Reds. And on paper, this should have been a pretty lopsided matchup. Sykot was coming off of like a 29-win season. He had a 1.83 ERA. He was a pretty dominant pitcher for his time.
Mm-hmm.
Ruther, on the other hand, had won 19 games that season. Not bad. But prior to that, he had only won 3 games in his career.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So the matchup did indeed prove to be lopsided, fellas. But it was Ruther who came out on top. Sycott's first outing of the series was anything but impressive. His second pitch of the game beamed leadoff batter Maury Rath. And by the time the fourth inning rolled around, he completely fell apart. And the Reds were suddenly ahead 6-1. And then he ended up getting pulled after the fourth inning. But this was all part of the plan, right? Eddie Sykott is one of the people that orchestrated this fix. He pitched all right for a few innings to make it not so obvious that there was a fix in place, but bad enough to let the financiers know that he was upholding his end of the bargain, right? When he beamed that guy, that was kind of a tell to say, like, hey, the fix is in, right?
Yeah.
The Reds ended up winning the game 9-1, and it would appear that the faction of players who were fixing the game had held up their end of the bargain. Obviously, especially Sykott. Unfortunately for the players, the financiers of this fix ended up reneging on the bet and stiffed them the $20,000 that was owed.
Ooh.
The reason given for this was that the financier, a guy by the name of Abe Attell, he's an associate of Arnold Rothstein. So Rothstein's the big guy, right? Abe Attell is an associate who kind of handles all of the money for him. The reason for not giving them any of this money was so that he could place a bet on the next game. Professional gamblers.
Wasn't it like 20,000 a game? Is that what they were doing? Mm-hmm. Like each pit? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And remember, so Sykott is the only one who had been paid so far, right? Because he was the guy who received $10,000 prior to the series even starting. Nonetheless, the plan was to continue on with the fix. Someone was able to convince them to keep going on with the fix. So that brings us to game 2. And this time, Lefty Williams was on the mound. And typically, Lefty had great command, and he also had an incredible curveball. But shockingly, guys, he didn't have all of his stuff for that game.
Oh, my goodness.
He didn't make it quite as obvious as Sykott did. You know, I don't think he beaned anybody, but at times, like, he kind of showed his pitching prowess. But lo and behold, in the fourth inning, he walked 3 and then gave up 3 runs. White Sox bats, they were one of the best hitting teams in baseball. Like the second best record in baseball. White Sox bats suddenly went cold, especially Chick Gandil, who was one of the people who helped fix this as well. Mm-hmm. They end up losing game 2, 4-2. So the Reds are up 2-0. And even after losing game 2, this motherfucker Abe Attell didn't want to pay up. Doesn't want to pay these guys. Fortunately for some of the players, Bill Burns, do you guys remember Bill Burns? He's the one who kind of initially met with Sykott, the professional gambler. He was able to convince him to shell out $10,000 so he could give Gandil some money, at least something to show that we're still behind this. He gave Gandil $10,000 to distribute among the players. And even after like all this bullshit with Attell, he still had a guarantee from Chick Gandil, that they would lose game 3 back home in Chicago. Now, at this point, some of the players involved in the fix are starting to get pissed. They haven't been paid for their full share of throwing games 1 and 2. They're kind of starting to say, like, what the fuck? Why are we even doing this?
Right.
So game 3 starts back in Chicago. And this is where we see Dickie Kerr. And Dickie Kerr was not in on the fix. Dickie Kerr was a rookie pitcher for the White Sox. And he came out and pitched a masterpiece. Complete game shutout. White Sox scored early. Their bats are back. There's 2 RBIs from Chick Gandil.
Oh.
Yeah, interestingly.
Yeah.
And the White Sox ended up winning game 3, 3-0. Funnily enough, prior to the game, Bill Burns, thinking that the fix was still going strong, he bet everything that he had on the Reds winning this game. Ended up going completely broke when the White Sox pulled off the shutout.
Nice.
And their first victory of the series. So, you know, gambler's going to gamble. He just basically fucked himself right there.
Yep.
Before we get to game 4, there are conflicting theories about whether or not the series fix continued after game 2 because of the way things went in game 3. During an interview with the press after the scandal had come to light and after the trial, which we'll get to, don't worry, we're not there yet, Shoeless Joe claimed that they were still trying to throw that game but they were thwarted by Dickie Kerr's flawless victory. The other theory is that the fix was off because the way Scandal contributed during the game with his 2 RBIs, that's not something that you're going to do if you're trying to fix the World Series. You're not going to be driving in runs to help win the game.
Right.
This is just something to think about as we kind of go deeper into this saga. All right, on to Game 4. Are you guys following me here?
Mm-hmm.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Game 4, Cy Cott was back on the mound. And this is apparently one of the most controversial games of the series because of what transpired. He was determined not to look quite as bad as he did in Game 1 in terms of his pitching, which he succeeded. He didn't bean anybody, didn't give up as many runs, but he made up for that with his shitty fielding. So with 1 out in the 5th, he fielded a little slow roller and ended up throwing it wildly to first base for a 2-base error. He's like the Red Sox player, throwing it way past the first baseman.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, you're welcome. The next batter up hit a single to left, and Cy Cott cuts off the throw from Joe Jackson, but he fumbles the fucking thing and allows the runner to score. Now, Cy Cott is well known for being a really good pitcher, number one, but this is like kind of something weird that you wouldn't see from Eddie Cy Cott, right? Obviously, this pisses off the Chicago faithful. They're like, what the fuck is going on? How can you mess up this little roller? How can you fumble the ball? Just like, yeah. He then proceeded to give up a double, allowing 1 more run to score. The opposing pitcher threw a shutout. The White Sox lose 2-0. They're now down 3-1 in the series. So after this game, the financiers liked what they saw. Finally, they're coming through with the money. They have 20 grand for the players. Scandal splits it equally among Swede Risberg, Happy Felsch, and Lefty Williams, who was also due to pitch Game 5. Lefty was set to square off against Hod Eller. I can't get over the names of these players. There's so many.
Did you say Hod?
Hod, Hod.
Okay.
Different time, I guess, but there's so many like Swede Risberg, Hod Eller. It's just bizarre. So he's going up against Hod Eller, and it was a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel up until the 6th inning. When Eller was up to bat, remember this is when pitchers were batting as well. Eller hits a blooper that fell between Felsch and Jackson in the outfield. Felsch's throw was curiously offline, and Eller advanced all the way to third. So the next batter hit a single that scored Eller, and basically the Reds rolled from that point on. In fact, Eller ended up striking out 9 batters, and at the time he set a World Series record for striking out the most batters in a row. He struck out 6 in a row, which was like a record until like 1966 or something like that, when somebody else tied it, it doesn't seem like that many. 6 batters in a row. Maybe it is. I don't know. The Reds end up winning 5-0, and they're 1 win away from their first World Series championship. Remember, it's a 9-game series. Back to Cincinnati for Game 6. No travel days, like I said. Our boy Dickie Kerr is back on the mound, but he's not nearly as effective as he was in Game 3. And after 3 errors by the White Sox, the Reds jumped out to a 4-0 lead. But the White Sox, they fought back. They tied it in the 6th inning, and it remained tied until they headed to extras. Free baseball, gentlemen. Free baseball.
Gotta love it.
In the top of the 10th, none other than Chick Scandal drove in Buck Weaver to make it 5-4. Kerr closed out the game to record the win. Okay, so 2 things here. Number 1, the fact that Dickie Kerr pitched the entire game is pretty fucking impressive. Something we don't see in modern baseball. Pitches 10 innings, complete game, even after he gave up all those runs. Like, he would have been gone by inning 6. Second thing, at this point, I'm starting to have a lot of doubts about Chick Scandal and if he's actually trying to fix the series. Because for someone trying to lose, he's fucking lighting it up.
Yeah.
Right.
So just something to keep in the back of your head. And it's you'll see as we go on. Anyway, on to Game 7. Now, one thing I want to mention here, it's been said that after Game 4, Comiskey may have been apprised of the fact that there was a fix going on, which is not surprising because It seems like a lot of people in certain circles knew that something was going on. And remember when I talked at the beginning of this, pretty much everyone knew that gambling was happening throughout the course of baseball's history. Did he do or say anything about it? Absolutely fucking not.
Of course not.
Because he knew that it would undo all the goodwill that baseball had brought, right? Over the past year, like everybody's excited about baseball. If something comes out during the middle of this series, like that's going to ruin the whole thing. He also knew that he could keep making money, and he probably didn't want to fuck that up.
Never.
And if a good percentage of your audience is gambling on the game, they're paying attention to the game.
Exactly.
They're at the stadium.
Exactly. So here we go. Game 7. Reds lead the series 4-2. Sykot is back on the mound. But this time, the White Sox ace pitches a gem. He allows 7 hits and 1 run. The tables are turned a little bit here. The Reds start committing the errors. Chicago puts up 4 runs by the 5th inning, and they go on to win 4-1. Well, now the financiers are fucking pissed, right? They're like, what are you guys doing? This series is supposed to be fixed. In addition to the money that Arnold Rothstein had fronted to the players to fix the game, or that he finally fronted to them, he also bet on his own, with his own money, $270,000 on the Reds to win the series, which I don't know. That's probably what, a couple million in today's
Easy.
dollars.
Yeah.
Easy.
Quite a bit of money. Apparently, Rothstein didn't like betting on individual games. He liked to bet on series. That's why he's putting up so much. So you can imagine the fact that the White Sox were suddenly like 1 game away from tying this series. It did not go gentle into that good night. On the eve of Game 8, Lefty Williams, who was the scheduled starter for that game, he got a little visit from an associate of Mr. Rothstein's by the name of Harry F. I don't know about you guys, but anyone with just a letter for their last name is probably a pretty sketchy motherfucker.
Harry fucker.
Yeah, apparently Mr. F, short for fuck you, told Lefty that if he failed to blow the game in the first inning, he and his wife would be in grave danger.
Wow.
So I'm going to go ahead and assume Mr. Fuck You is a pretty scary guy. Because when Game 8 rolled around, Lefty did as he was told, throwing nothing but meatballs in the first inning. He gave up 4 straight hits and allowed 3 runs before quickly being relieved. The White Sox would give it a good effort. One notable stat from this game is that Shoeless Joe hit the only home run of the series. Only home run of the series during that 3rd inning, which is kind of weird.
Cincinnati didn't hit in home runs?
No.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if home runs just weren't as prevalent back then. That's not something that I've really looked into, but interesting stat nonetheless. Especially since Shoeless Joe is apparently in on the fix with these guys. Eventually, they ended up losing the game 10-5, thus giving the Reds their first World Series championship. The day after the series ended, much of the baseball world was talking about the Reds' triumph over the mighty White Sox, right? But one man took a little bit of a different tone. If you guys remember our old friend and Chicago columnist Hugh Fullerton, in a widely published column, he will say that he lambasted the White Sox and claimed that he, quote, was disgusted by the display of ineptitude with which the White Sox had thrown the series, and wrote that no World Series should ever be played again. So he knew that something was going on. And remember, he was the one who kind of had that encounter with Bill Burns prior to the series, kind of got like some weird vibes from him. And just things that happened throughout the series, he understands that, he thinks that something is going on. So this column is not well received by those in the baseball community. Mostly, journalists, people around in baseball circles, they mostly just dismissed it as Fullerton having some what they called sour grapes about his prediction for the series being incorrect. His assertions were mostly dismissed by those in organized baseball, and even he wrote like follow-up articles because he was really onto this. The issues that he was speaking on, they never really gained any traction. But by 1920, all of that was about to change. Unfortunately, you'll have to wait until our next episode
Oh my God.
Another
to hear the
cliffhanger.
conclusion of this saga.
Jesus.
Next episode, we will get into what happens after the series and the eventual fallout of the players who tried to fix the series.
Give us a little preview. Like what happens? Come on, man.
Well,
What was
you're
part
just
of
gonna
the?
you're gonna have to wait and see. They're
Was somebody murdered?
Paul's
nobody's
over here jonesing.
murdered.
Somebody's family? Did they go after the families at all?
No,
on,
it's
man.
not like
Hook
a
me
true
up.
crime podcast or anything. We're not gonna go that far.
I watched
But,
a lot of.
Never seen again.
Yeah. Shoeless Joe disappeared into the cornfield.
Exactly.
But yeah, there was lots of drama involved in this series, in the World Series. Next week, we're going to get into what happened leading up to a trial. There are kind of two trials involved. A lot of kind of shady shit still happens. We'll get into that next week.
Sweet.
Good stuff.
All right, everybody. I think that's all we got for this week.
Yep. Unfortunately.
Good week overall. Lots of drama in both our story and in the baseball world.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the drama is going to continue to unfold
I think so.
as we go further into the season. Conclusion of this saga will happen in our next episode. As always, give us a follow on the social medias
Yep.
or wherever you get your podcast or YouTube. We're here for you.
We are.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.